Well, that's spooky. I was just setting up the first shot to welcome you all back. Switch the camera on and it's pointing straight at that. I think it's Victoria the automaton, a prototype. Spooky. That's better. Got my dulcet tones and very hairy face. I must shave at some point. And welcome back, dear friends. That's what I was going to say. Very exciting, because now I'm going to start on trying to get the ukulele playing machine to accompany Victoria the automaton singing when I'm cleaning windows. Now, if you think back a long time ago, I got the ukulele machine working and playing all the tune, all the notes in the right order roughly, and all the rest of it timing. I got my wife to record the audio track. Very complicated to sort that out. So she sung it along to the accompaniment by the ukulele, so it all stayed in time. But my biggest problem I had then was that the Teensy, with the Teensy audio board, which is amazing, fantastic bit of kit, I couldn't get it working properly. I think there was some fault with the connections. Excuse me one moment, I'll get it and show you. Here it is. Beep, 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 beep. There's the audio board on the top and the Teensy is at the bottom. Now, I bought a new Teensy or audio board or something, and I've tried to solder them together, this time proper headers. Focus! So I'm trying to give that a go, and my battery's about to run out on the camera. What a fool I've been, I tells you. So what I've been trying to do is I'm definitely going to try and follow properly, without skipping anything, the Teensy tutorial on how to use the board, the card, audio card. I'm going to go through, because in the past I managed to get to step number 3 and it wouldn't work, do what it was meant to. So I'm going to go through and check in the hope that I've actually got it right this time. There's a breadboard. What a filthy stinking breadboard. Never mind, it'll do. And I finally, having spent, you know, every time I switch this wretched laptop on that, when it hasn't been connected to the internet for a while, it then has to upload everything, and it's taken me 3 hours just to get this far. So I went to the other computer and actually printed out the layout for the breadboard that I'm going to have to make. I'm going to follow every single step this time. I'm not going to do what I normally do, which is, oh yeah, you know, it can't be that difficult, can it? Well, it can, and it has been. So this time I'm going to do it properly. I will get back to you. That is really filthy, isn't it? Never mind. I will get back to you when I have built this and got something to show you, and the battery's charged up. Well, it's taken me 5 hours to upload the new version of the Arduino IDE and all the Teensy stuff that's been updated recently, actually. And I'm absolutely thrilled that it's now beeping. This is part 1 of the tutorial. So I've got it there with my lovingly recreated breadboard, as they suggested. This is the test version for the tutorials. So I've got that done, and it's bleeping. It doesn't sound much, but I tells you, it is so exciting. I'm actually getting there. You go through stages, don't you, when you sort of think, why am I doing this? Is this ever going to work? So I've now got, where is it? Arduino IDE 2.1. Cool. It's most exciting. Now onto tutorial 2, which worked before. Yay! It works! Fantastic, because of course along with the Arduino I need to install all the Teensy stuff as well, which I've finally managed to do. The second tutorial is getting it to play music. I think it's an MP3 file that's stored on the little SD card stuck in there. So that's exciting, although I have to say that this worked before as well. I think it's when I got on to tutorial 3 that it all stopped working. So let's try that now, dear friends. This is brilliant. I've managed to solve the problem. It's now flashing the LED and playing the music. The reason being that I had to adjust the 2 pins for the Teensy 4, and then if you look down it says define LED pin. It's 13 on the Teensy 4, which is also the SD card SCK pin. How ridiculous. So, well, it's my stupid fault. They could have left a little note about not changing that. But in the end, I just wired it into the output from pin number 5 and it works. I cannot tell you. You know when you bang your head against the wall and you're not quite sure what's going on. I've got it sorted. On to lesson 5. This is so exciting. Bleeding obvious to some, not to me. Today I am absolutely thrilled because look, I've got an LED flashing on the Teensy controlling, being controlled in turn by the output on the Uno. Now that is absolutely obvious and I'm sure people all know how to do this, but I've just had to sort this out, especially after I realised, of course, that the Teensy mustn't have any inputs above 3.3 volts. And I think that's probably how I managed to blow up the last one. So I've got a voltage divider here, 2 resistors to take the 5 volts output from the Arduino down to 3 volts. Well, this can read. That is so exciting. I can't tell you. Little things, old dogs, etc, etc. My next job is now to see whether it can do it the other way around, to send a signal from the Teensy to the Uno, which I don't think needs, well, it's going to be 3.3 volts coming out of the Teensy, and I think the logic levels in the Uno are going to cope with that, which is most exciting considering last time I ended up getting completely overwrought and using all sorts of things and opto isolators and heaven only knows not what, just to basically destroy a Teensy. So fingers crossed. Yes! No, it's doing it the other way round. The Teensy is switching on an LED on and off so I can see it, and an output wire is coming over to an input on the Uno, and when it's on or high or whatever, it's lighting its own little LED. Oh, that, I tell you, it may seem bleeding obvious, but that is so exciting because that's what stopped me from carrying on before, that and having lots of exciting things to make. But now that I've got the two communicating, that's why I couldn't find any help on the internet and stuff. How do you connect these two together? Because it is so obvious, ridiculous. But that means I can now coordinate Victoria singing with the ukulele playing machine. That's so exciting. I just can't stop. I had to see whether I could get it to play, and it does. Oh, I'm so pleased. Right down to the little peak detector I added that will work her mouth. That's amazing. I'm so pleased. You can hear the effects of all the filters. The noise and the wow and flutter and scratching and things. But the important thing is that the timing should be spot on, because I recorded my wife while she was listening and singing along to the ukulele actually playing the tune. And because all the filtering with these sound effects is done live, it's not actually changing the overall length. It's all terribly, terribly clever. It's amazing what the Teensy can do. Here's the amazing audio system design tool for the Teensy audio library. It's absolutely incredible because it's purely graphical. You choose bits and pieces you want down the side, and there are tons of different things it can do. Things like filters and memory playing things, and heaven only knows what else, mixers and stuff. You drag them onto this area, and then you link them up however you want with the lines, and it turns your design into the code that you then drop into the Teensy sketch, which is so clever. Let me show you. Here we are. That's what it created, that little selection you saw, and that was fiddling around for ages trying to find the sort of right effects, and then it creates that text that you drop into the Teensy sketch, and then it does it all for you. It's amazing. I think I might have to tweak some of the filters because they were designed for speech, and obviously speech, or singing with the wow and flutter changes the pitch and all sorts. I think it might be a bit extreme at the moment. Oh, she started again. So I'm going to have to fiddle with that, I think, and we'll have an experiment and see what she sounds like when she's singing along. Heavens to Betsy, why didn't I make copious notes? Oh, I never did. Well, I've started getting better, especially when I have to rebuild something. I've come to this morning because I really want to get her singing, and the only thing I'm going to worry about is to get her mouth opening and closing so I can see what it looks like when she's singing with all the filters and things on the Teensy. I haven't got a clue what these wires are for. Mind you, there's not that many of them. Why? I've just searched through the limited notes that I've got. Very, very limited. In fact, these were from yesterday, I think. And I've got no record of what all these do at all, or of where they connect to here. So I'm not going to worry about it. I know that one of them, these two stepper motor interfaces, one makes her look up and down, and the other one makes her look left and right. But there's also the servo motors that make her blink and things, and her eyes move. So that's got to be... Oh no, there's even more over there. Never mind. So I'm working out... I can't even remember what voltage this runs off. But I think it's 12 volts because I seem to remember using these voltage regulators to take the 12 down because the stepper motor drivers needed 12. That's right. I wouldn't say flooding. I'd say dripping very, very slowly back. So I'm going to upload the sketch because when I stop doing this, when I finish this, I just ruined one of the microphones that I was trying to use to do the auto tuning. So I'm just going to forget auto tuning, forget everything else. I've just insulated the wires that went to that little amplifier circuit. Forget all that, I can add that later. Get the mouth connected up, get this program to play the tune, and then get this talking to the... What's that? Handy, every household should have one. Get this talking to the Teensy and backwards and forth and so forth. I will get back to you. If all else fails, let's have a look inside. Excellent. Right, hang on a minute. Well, that's fascinating, seeing something I'd made, what, 2 or 3 years ago. So we've got a servo motor, 2 servo motors. I thought we had a... Oh yeah, we've got 3 servo motors. One of them moves the eyes left and right. The other one moves the eyes up and down. Why do anything simple, you know? And the other one opens and closes the eyelids. And there's one stepper motor just down in there, which works with this gear to move the head up and down. And there's... Oh, look, I can see, I found it. Here's the solenoid for the mouth. The 2 black wires come over. They connect to the yellow wires. Brilliant. Right, let's get things wired up. That's a bit disturbing, actually, isn't it? Very strange look, indeed. Oh, well, that's nice to know. I thought I was going to have to reprogram it, but I had actually programmed it with the right version. The final one that I used to record it, to allow my wife to sing along, that's right. Oh, that's good, and it's all still working. Oh, how lovely. Right. Just a quick update. Decided to use pin 13 on the Arduino Mega to get the Teensy going, so because that's the one that's got the LED, so it's quite handy just to see when the LED flashes and see whether that's then triggering the Teensy. Got it going through the potential divider to take 5 volts down to 3 volts. This wire and this wire will then run off to the Teensy. And what I'm currently doing, I'm just convincing myself that a push button will actually trigger this using one of its inputs. So I just see whether it will. In fact, let's try it now. Yes. Oh, how exciting. I'm saying exciting. Oops, hang on a minute. I'm saying exciting quite a lot, in fact lots, after my previous experience with the Teensy when I just could not get it working. Because I'd set the numbers up wrong, the pins or something, I don't know. But this is brilliant, that I'm actually able to use my programming skills learnt by using the Arduino, transferring them to the Teensy. It's fantastic. Right, let's get the 2 connected together. I just thought before I try connecting them together that I'd fiddle with the wow and flutter effect because it was just too much. And I'd written... with one of these lines, the amplitude, 1 equals unchanged. So I changed it to 1. I wouldn't have said. Yes. I beg to differ. How ridiculous. It's another day, and after much gnashing of teeth and hair pulling, trying to struggle to get my old laptop to actually, where is it? There it is. To actually program these reliably, the Teensy and things, almost gave up, but I realised just by switching it off and on again, who would have thought it would actually recognise the Teensy? So we're ready to try it. Let me show you what I've been up to. Ever so exciting. As always, I keep saying it, but there you go. I finally, having tried all sorts of things, finally sorted out that having the output from the one with the LED on the Mega through the little potential divider to turn it from 5 volts down to 3 volts so it doesn't damage the Teensy, that comes all the way over here, and I've rewritten the sketch on the Teensy, so when it's got a high input from the Mega, it plays it. When it goes low, it stops playing it. It sounds bleeding obvious, but it wasn't, and it took ages to work out what the hell was going on. You know, when you feel something is just jinxed, after all my previous experiences, you just expect everything to go wrong. Like last night I was trying to program it, and that's when it stopped recognising the Teensy. Was it the Teensy? Was it computer? Was it the lead? You know, just anyway. I've also got the output, rather than flickering an LED, how boring, I've got it wired through a Darlington pair to Victoria the automaton's mouth. And the filter seems to be working really well on the Teensy. Oh, it's just an incredible thing, because it works so fast and is so powerful that it can play, I think it's 2 or 3 audio tracks at the same time in stereo, and have all sorts of functioning real-time filters and bits and pieces. So the peak monitor thing that I added is going to run that. So really it's time to stop talking and see what happens when we get it all going. So it's just finding the starting point for the 4 fingering fret things first of all. Well, that's exciting. There are some issues, obviously. As I say, it's the first time I've actually been able to manage to do that. I had to add a 250 millisecond delay to the trigger on the Teensy to get them coordinated at the start. I don't understand, considering my wife sang along to the actual audio recording of that playing. I'm not quite sure why it varies, the timing. I've listened to it all through several times because I'm a glutton for punishment, and there's something very strange and alluring to listening and watching that. And it ends up, even after, I think it's about 4.5 minutes long, it ends up absolutely spot on and coordinated at the end. So I'm not sure why it sort of varies as time goes by. The only thing I can think of is because of the timing system I used on the Mega sketch, where it counts, sets milliseconds in the future and then waits for them to arrive, and then somehow or other, I can only imagine that some mechanical thing is having an impact on how quickly each note plays. I'm not sure, I can't work it out. And also, so that's interesting, something to look at. And also the crackling, because when it first starts, because it's an audio track with her recording, it immediately starts crackling. I don't want that, obviously, because it should only crackle when she's actually singing, because that would be when some sort of vinyl disc 78 would start kicking in and actually making her sing. So I need to work out a way of stopping that. I think I'll have a look at the Teensy. It might be possible to have, it's interesting, isn't it? So there's all sorts of interesting things. Also, I want to obviously get her to blink, and I need to get her, because there are some, especially in this song, some lines where it's, ooh, missus. I want her to get her to roll her eyes and things like that. How to coordinate that? I think time for walking the dog, it'll be lovely, because I've now got this to grind away in the old grey matter, which is lovely. Nothing better than having problems and issues, well, not problems, but exciting things to solve. So I will get on and try and make some improvements, and I'll get back to you. How exciting. I'll stop saying it. How enthralling. Think of another word. This is just so superfluous. There, I haven't said it. It just reads it each time it cycles round, reads it. If it's above 0, it means that she's singing. It resets the crackle millis thing, which is a brilliant thing that the Teensy includes. It just counts up from when you first switch it on, and you can just reset it to 0. You can have as many of them as you want, which is very handy. And then if data is greater than 0 and it's not playing, start playing it. And then it keeps going, so while it's playing it's still resetting crackle each time to 0. And then if data is 0, so it's now she's finally stopped singing, and crackle is greater or equal to 2000, that's 2 of your very best seconds, and it's playing, stop it. That's lovely. It's lovely. Yeah, these things, look, you just define them, whatever the word is. Elapsed millis, and I've got 1 frames per second to control the mouth, and then crackle, and I think I may well have one to control the eye blinking. Because her eyelids are controlled by a little servo motor, and because the Teensy is just the most wonderful thing since sliced bread, it's got loads of pulse width modulated outputs, and it's so fast that it can cope with playing the music and the filtering and the voice, the mouth and the eyes. It can do all sorts of things. Now the interesting thing is how I'm going to divide up the jobs. Why, I hear you cry, is she now looking to her right, our left? Well, I thought I'd be ever so clever, having had the success with getting the Teensy ball to run her mouth solenoid. I thought I'd try and wire up the servos that move her eyes, 3 servos, to the Teensy. I then started it off and it all went cataclysmically wrong. It started going out of tune really quickly, and then they started banging into the ends and everything. But I noticed the red lights on the power regulators were starting to flicker. And when they started to flicker, it all went horribly wrong. So, problem with the current, wasn't enough of it. And with the solenoid, which I calculated draws about half an amp, which is a hell of a lot for a little thing, but that was just tipping it over the proverbial edge. So I've made all the wires thicker and got thicker wires here, 5 amp wires instead of the whatever it was. And my next job is going to be to get Victoria the automaton wired up to here, because the other thing I've decided is the Mega, which is here and makes perfect sense, it is just going to control the ukulele playing machine. And I'm going to try and work out, and I'm going to have lots of questions for lovely subscribers, how to get this to talk other than 1 purple wire, which I'm using at the moment to tell the Teensy to start and stop. How to get the Mega using some slightly more intelligent serial communication, possibly, to be able to talk backwards and forwards to the Teensy, because that would mean I could then have, along with the notes saved in the arrays on the Mega that play the notes of the tune, along with them I could add a couple more arrays and have them doing things like rolling her eyes, blinking, possibly other bits and pieces to go along with what's happening with the music. The great thing that means is that Victoria the automaton can finally become a stand-alone steampunk machine, which is what I always wanted her to be. I started designing her, it must be 3 years ago, on holiday on the Isle of Wight, after having done the last, sadly, but hopefully we're going to attend some more, Whitby steampunk event, and displaying the Is It Time for Tea machine for the first time. And so many people said, oh, is it possible to get one of those heads that could talk? We run a restaurant and it'd be lovely if customers could come in and ask for, suggestions for the menu. Someone ran a library and said, oh, you could have, what sort of books are you interested in? She could suggest the right book. Oh, it's all so much. That's where it started. And I did some design drawings and all sorts of other ideas and came up with the sort of classic magician in a box type thing, fortune teller, that's it. But I'm now thinking of an alternative. The other reason for doing it like this is because there just isn't room on the base, on the board, the ukulele playing machine for anything else. And then that brings me on to the next idea, future idea. Oh, it's lovely. Walking the dog and having my mind filled with all these things. It is brilliant. Yeah, the other thing is, long term, is to have some sort of removable and insertable recording device for the ukulele playing machine and for Victoria. I've been thinking about things like a vinyl record that would have the audio on but could also have all the data encoded on it. It's all sorts of madness, because it's really not, I know you could do it on a pen drive and just stuff a pen drive in, or make a pen drive look like something else, but there would be something ever so exciting about having something physical that you can put on a disc or a reel of tape, or, you know, punched hole tape that is, or something like that, film even, because you can, anyway, something like that, and then that can tell it, because then you can have different tunes and music. So that's where we're going. Stop talking, it's all very exciting. Thanks very much for watching. Please remember to click subscribe and like if you like this sort of thing. I will definitely be asking questions about serial communication between the Mega and the Teensy in future. Next time, get Victoria, the automaton's eyes and head and everything else to be controlled by the Teensy with its own power supply. Thanks very much. Right, there's a little interlude there, little solo on the old ukulele, so I think it's time to stop it.